Yes, things are bad, and they are going to get worse. We can say that with almost absolute certainty. And I'm talking about our environmental situation, our economic and socio-political systems. It seems like everything's going downhill. But we really don't want to fall into black and white thinking. You know, it's very easy, and I talked about this in a recent video, to on one hand fall into the pattern of doomer and cynical type thinking, just throwing our hands up in the air and saying that, oh, you know, everything's fucked anyways, so there's no point trying to make a difference in any way, which is a cowardly and defeatist way of looking at this situation. Or we can be on this other extreme where we're just, you know, like an ostrich with our head buried in the sand, in total denial, saying, oh, things aren't that bad, you know, this next technology that comes out is going to save us, and, you know, we'll get through it just fine. What I'm saying here is that we need some nuance. We need to strike a fluid balance between these two extremes. We need to be able to practice radical acceptance, to see the reality of our situation, to accept the emotions that it brings up in us, whether that's fear, despair, anger, and then say, okay, this is what's present. This is what's happening right now. What next? What can we do about it? Are we just going to lay down and die, or are we going to bury our heads in the sand? That's not the way I want to approach life. That's not the way I want to live in this world. And I imagine that if you're watching this video, you're probably the same. And what I want to talk about in this video is that a time of collapse and of calamity is also an opportunity for creativity and for reinvention. Yes, there will be suffering. There will be all kinds of loss, and there will be challenges that those of us in the Western world certainly have not experienced in recent history. And I mean, when it comes to environmental collapse, none of us have experienced anything like this. When people say, oh, it's the end of the world, first off, it's because bad news and negativity and fear-mongering sell. They drive clicks. But it also indicates a profound lack of imagination, and times like this require, more than almost anything, imagination, idealism, I don't know why I said it like that, cooperation and ambition of us. The thing is, if we are desperately attached to the status quo, to keeping things the way that they've been for the past few decades, let's say, we are in grave danger. And I know, change is scary. People resist change like their lives depend on it. And most people won't change until they're desperate, until they're forced to do so. But change is also inevitable. We can't avoid it. And we can approach change in an intentional and creative way, or we can just let it happen in a chaotic and haphazard way. To some extent, the choice is ours, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how bad they are. So, on the topic of imagination, for the positive, intentional kind of change that we want, perhaps the most important thing is that we have a clear and compelling vision, and even better if it's a shared vision with like-minded people around us in our community, of an ideal, or at least a better future. One that is, like I said, clear and compelling, that will inspire and motivate us even when the going is hard. And this is why we want to dream big, to actually come up with a vision that's exciting, that gives us something to work towards, something to live for. And you know, people will say, you know, it's a waste of time being idealistic. There's no point in trying or of, you know, setting your sights that high because you're just going to get disappointed. And you know what? I can guarantee that our perfect ideal world will never come to pass. But if we keep our if we keep our sights set very clearly and very determinedly on this vision, on this love-filled vision that is deeply aligned with our values and passions and desires in life, it doesn't matter if it comes 100% to pass. What matters is that we make progress. So to recap, we need to be aware, we need to be informed, and we need to be with the feelings that come up around all of the stuff that's happening around us. But we need to not let it control us, because if we let it control us, we admit defeat. If we truly believe that the destruction and oppression and exploitation happening in the world are legitimate and significant problems, and if we truly believe that peace and freedom and equality and justice and integrity and beauty and health are worth fighting for, then it is our responsibility to step up and engage in that fight. We can't wait around for our governments to do it for us. We should all know that's a hopeless pursuit. We need to be building alternative, parallel systems that can, in time, replace the broken and corrupt systems that currently exist. We need to take the initiative. We need to take the responsibility. This is our world. And we cannot admit defeat. We need to have imagination. We need to have ambition. We need to dream as big as we possibly can. And come up with a dream that is so beautiful, so exciting, that we just can't help but fight for it. I'm thinking about cooperative farms, replacing grass lawns with edible gardens and food forests. I'm thinking about mutual aid networks. I'm thinking about rainwater harvesting. I'm thinking about tool and other resource libraries. I'm thinking about free and pay what you can community health clinics. I could go on. But there are so many ways that we can support each other's economies of exchange rather than relying on fiat currency. There's an endless list of ways that we can improve our communities, make ourselves more resilient, and make our lives just more beautiful, more enjoyable, more connected. All the things that we really want. And I'm not saying there won't be resistance to this. There sure as hell will be. But that's why it's a fight. And you know what? There are a lot more of us than there are of them. And I know we can do it. We can make this easier on ourselves by seeking and building like-minded community. We have the tools to do it. Social media, the internet. And educating ourselves about activism and community organizing, food production, permaculture, so many things. And by cultivating this vision of a better tomorrow. If this is something that you've thought about, or even if it's something you're just starting to think about now as you listen to me, tell me a little bit about your vision. What does your ideal world look like? What world do you really dream of living in? Like and subscribe if you like. I'll see you next time.